enforce federal immigration law. The only surprise is that he didn't go further. California is in open rebellion, of course, against federal immigration law. Its sanctuary state law punishes collaboration with federal agents. Collaboration. It's crazy. Meanwhile, the state is suing the Trump administration over its plan to ask about citizenship status on the 2020 census. Congressman Brad Sherman is a Southern California Democrat, and he joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you.
So it seems to me if I'm a Californian or one of its elected, even federal officials, I'm really worried about the outflow of middle-class families from California, massive, almost 1 million in the past 20 years, leaving the state. And I'm asking myself, why are they leaving? Maybe I should pay some attention to them and less attention to people coming here illegally to replace them. Does that ever occur to you?
I think it's absurd to ask that question of me. I represent 750,000 Americans who live in my district. And to say that I don't care about middle-class families because I care about everyone who lives in my district is absurd. The fact is, there's one reason why people are leaving, and that's because of the high cost of housing. And if we have, and employer after employer says, I've got to pay a very high wage for people to be able to afford a house. But that's why we. But keep in mind that's a good problem.
Housing markets are directly affected by government policy at every level, as you know, including in the state. There's a reason California has way more expensive housing stock than Idaho, even Oregon, Washington State. But these are middle-class concerns. This is what you said when Laura Ingraham asked you about crime in California, and I'm quoting. You said, if you want less crime, move to the Cayman Islands.
The point I was making was to rebut the racist beginning of her show, where she put up picture after picture.
Wait, she's the racist. You said if you want less crime, leave the country. We care so little about you, just leave. No. And you're calling her the racist?
Picture of person of color and said, this is a criminal, this is a criminal, this is a criminal.
Were they criminals?
Yes, but...
Oh, but she's a racist for saying that.
She could have put up blonde people. She could have put up bald people. She decided to say the only criminals in this country are people of color.
I don't believe she said that. But your response instead was, if you don't like it, move to the Cayman Islands. So I wonder why. Hold on. I wonder why middle-class families of all colors think Brad Sherman and the people who run the state, who are running it into the ground, don't care about me because they're telling me to just buzz off and go to the Cayman Islands.
We have housing stock in California than we've had in the past. And every one of those homes is filled, usually by a middle-class family. We can't build housing fast enough to take care of all the people who want to live there.
Why is the state's poverty rate rising faster than any other state? Why does the state, which was the richest state, now have the most poverty of any state?
We also have a very high
But why is that rising so fast?
We are a point of entry for people who come here from other countries, mostly legally, who are poor. And they work hard and they become middle class.
When we import poor people, we get rich. But why hasn't that happened in your state?
California is richer than the rest of the country, and we're doing just fine.
But it has more poverty than the rest of the country. So a small number of people, it now is the economy of Latin America. You're obviously a beneficiary, so it may not bother you. But it does bother people enough that they're leaving by the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands every year.
Our population goes up each year. Our housing stock is expensive. We're doing just fine. Our credit rating is exceptional, and people want to live in California.
So you have almost $1 trillion in unfunded obligations to retirees. $1 trillion. You're a state, not a country. That's big. Your credit rating is fine. A lot of credit ratings were fine in 2007, 2008, and then the economy blew up. So that's not a valid measure of anything.
You've asked me to come on here and talk about the census. And now you want me to
you don't want to answer real questions.
I want to answer the real questions you asked me to come on.
Oh, so I'm being unfair. Am I a racist, too, for asking these questions like Laura?
No, you're just being someone who wants to talk about a state issue.
Just committed to adult conversation, right? Issues
about California,
you asked me to come on
and talk about the census.
Okay, well then
and instead, you want me to talk about state government issues.
Oh, it's a trick. I'm asking you budget questions. Sorry to be complex.
No.
So I'll ask you a census question. Why shouldn't we know? Why shouldn't we be allowed to know how many citizens and non-citizens live here? Many censuses have asked this.
Do you want to use political polarization to pollute the enumeration, to bias the census? If so, then we should have a question about guns. Why shouldn't we know how many guns are in each household? Why? The reason we don't ask that is because we don't want to politically bias the census.
And why do we ask race questions? Why do we do the whole sort of German race thing, like, what race are you? What's your DNA? Why do we ask that? Do you find that a little creepy?
I don't know anyone in my district who's afraid to answer a question about what race they are or what their gender is.
How do you know? Have you done a survey on it? I don't think you have.
I'm in pretty good touch with my district.
All 700,000? You've asked them race questions? That's kind of weird.
I'm in pretty good touch with what people are thinking in the San Fernando Valley. And not a single person has come up to me and said they're afraid to answer the question about their race.
Because they're afraid they're living in the shadows, Congressman, and I think we both know that.
What? Because they're...
Just joking. I'm throwing your dumb rhetoric at you. They're living in the shadows. If you can answer your race question, you can answer a citizenship question.
Why not ask a gun question?
Because
the reason is because the
NRA...
Well, citizenship is irrelevant to gun ownership. The reason we don't ask a gun ownership question is because the NRA would tell people to throw the survey away, and Texas would lose 3 seats in Texas.
Hilarious. I like that. I mean, that's a pretty funny.
Why don't, if you want to politically pollute the census, start with a gun question?
That's pretty good. I knew we were going to get to the NRA. Congressman, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. I think the NRA would be for that. College degrees grow more expensive. I thought we were off the air. We're not. Even as they become less valuable, they are more expensive. Part 1 of our series of reports, Is College Worth It? That's next.